A little bit better. Okay, so today we were really going to talk about circles. 6-2, gosh, it's June. Don't you love that? It is June. So our objective today is basically going to be equations of circles.
Oh, sorry, Kaden.
Okay, now they are not functions. Anybody remember what makes a function a function? Anybody remember at all what makes a function a function?
One answer for one x for every one y.
Right, and then a circle, remember that vertical line test, right? Remember the vertical line test? There's no way a circle is going to pass the vertical line test. It's going to go through it twice, right? And so on the equation, you get an x and a y squared. Equation of a circle, you get an x and a y squared. And with a y squared, you'd have to have two answers, plus or minus, and that's just not going to work. So you're going to have an equation of a circle that's going to be x minus some h quantity squared plus y minus some k quantity squared equals some radius squared. That's the equation of a circle. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. That's the equation of a circle, all right?
So that's used to find the radius?
Yeah. So then what we know, which we've learned before in math, is if you see minus here and minus here, it really does mean opposite. Remember that? In math, if you see the subtract here, it really does mean the opposite. We've learned that before. In math, if it's an x minus h, it's really going to be the opposite of h. Y minus k really means the opposite of k, and r squared is the radius. Okay, so our center of our circle is this value hk, whatever those numbers are.
Can you send her the video?
Yeah, I'm recording, yeah. So for example, in example 1, the center is at 2, -3. Okay, real quick. The center of the circle I'm going to graph is at 2, -3. It's just the opposite. You guys okay with that? And I'll do that in a second. The radius of the circle is whatever this number is, the square root of that number. Okay? And in this example, the radius would be 5. Okay? The square root of 25 is 5. So it's really pretty easy. So let's graph this. First of all, the center is just the opposite of these, right? It's going to be the opposite. So the center of my circle is just going to be at 2, -3. All right, I'm just going to graph that 2, -3. There's my center of my circle. And the radius of this circle is just going to be the square root of 25, which is 5. All right, I'm going to graph it. Now, a lot of my circles are going to look like potatoes, but as long as we get them close, right? I do have a compass. If I wanted to make it really nice, we don't have to. But from the center, I'm going to go out 5, back 5, up 5, down 5, and try and draw my circle, okay? So from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where'd you get the 5?
Square root of that number right there. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you want to make it look really nice, you could use a compass. It does not have to be really nice. You could make it and draw it freehand if you can. See how I messed up there a little bit, didn't I? See? Oh, I'm really messing up. So maybe I'll just freehand it, huh? Because I'm doing a lousy job with my compass anyway. How's that? What do you think? Is this pretty easy? I mean, it really is a geometry lesson. We just never get to it because we ran out of time, okay?
So what's important about this is you know where the radius is and you know where the center word is.
Yeah, you got to find the center.
You can draw a circle.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't draw a circle, if your circles look like potatoes, Michael, good enough for me, okay? Mine doesn't look very good. So example 2. Now we don't need to graph it, but we need to find the equation. Okay, the center is given and the radius given. So if we want the equation, I'll just start off with the equation. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Okay? And I know h and k. H and k are 3 and 4. So I'm just going to put those numbers there and there. I know the radius is 4. I'm going to put that number right there, and I'll have my answer. So the equation of this circle is just simply going to be an x minus 3 quantity squared plus a y minus 4 quantity squared equals 4 squared. But I'm going to make that 16 in a second as soon as you catch up. I'll rewrite this as a 16 because 4 squared is 16, right? So I'll finish this up and I'll rewrite it as an x minus 3 quantity squared plus a y minus 4 quantity squared equals 16. This is the equation of a circle. Has a center at 3, 4 and a radius of 4. I'll say it again. This is the equation of a circle with center at 3, 4 and a radius of 4. How am I doing? Okay, very good? Okay. It's always nice to go do something that's easy, huh? Okay, turn the page. Yes.
Sorry.
No, I'm happy to wait for you.
Wait. Thank you.
Okay. Everybody good? Okay, all right. Backside. It says, what's the equation of this circle? Well, let's see. I'm going to try and find the center. Right? So let me see if I can draw a couple of diameters. Try and draw a diameter. Try and draw a diameter. So I drew some diameters, right? And it sure looks like my center is right there. Agree? So I just drew a diameter. So my center is at 2, 2. Yes, just south. And I can even get my radius because I can just count my radius. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my radius is 4. So if I want the equation, I'll start off with my x minus h quantity squared plus my y minus k quantity squared equals r squared, right? And like Giselle said, I'll put the -2 and -2 here. So I'm going to rewrite this as a x minus 2 quantity squared plus a y minus 2 quantity squared equals 4 squared. And the last thing I would probably do is change the 4 squared into a 16. And I'll have the equation. So x minus 2 quantity squared plus a y minus 2 quantity squared equals 16 would be the equation of that circle. Okay, example 4. Am I going too fast? Okay. So example 2, find the equation if the center is at 1, 2 and the point 4, 2 lies on it. So really it's kind of like this. I'll give you a drawing of what it looks like. So it's got a point that lies on it, like on the circumference. That makes sense. So what I have, first of all, an equation. Let's start here. I want an equation, x minus h, quantity squared plus a y minus a k, quantity squared equals r squared, right? Let's start there. I know h and k. So I'll put those numbers in for h and k. I don't know the radius, but I'm going to get the radius, okay? So I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to go x minus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 2 quantity squared equals r squared. Okay? How am I doing? Now there's two ways to do this one. Two ways. One is if you do graph it, if you do graph this one, they actually looks pretty nice. And I'm going to show you the other way. But if you do graph this one, I'll show you why graphing this one on graph paper makes it easy. You've got 1, 2, and you've got 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. Oh, that's a lousy circle. That's terrible. Hey, Michael, does that answer your question? Yeah. But what's the radius? 3. Okay, so the radius is 3. Now, if you don't graph it, or if you're not sure, we could do it another way. We're going to take the point 4, 2 and plug it in. Okay, every point's got an x and a y value, correct? So if I plug in the 4 and plug in the 2, I'm going to get a 4 minus 1 squared plus a 2 minus a 2 squared equals r squared. Okay? And then I'll be able to find out what r is, right? Or r squared. So 3 squared is 9. You okay with that? 3 squared is 9. Plus 0. So what's r squared? 9.
Yeah.
And let's leave it as 9 because what I need my equation is r squared, right? I mean, you can make it 3. You could make it 3, but then you square it anyway. Okay, but r squared is 9, so my equation is just going to be a x minus 1 squared plus a y minus 2 squared equals 9. And for my lousy picture, we knew the radius was 3 anyway. Guys agree? Which would be 3 squared is 9. How am I doing? Okay. I will wait for you. Now in 5, we're actually going to have to do the work we just did before because the graph won't help. I'll show you that, okay? So on 5, if I did graph it to try and get it, and I'd had it 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 3, negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 6. It's going to be something like that, right? So I did graph it, it's going to look something like that. So, you know, figuring out the radius isn't all that easy. But there's an easier way to do this problem. We're going to do it the same way. We're going to go ahead and find the radius. Okay, equation of a circle. Equation. I'm going to start with my x minus h squared plus my y minus k squared equals my r squared. That's my equation, right? Start there.
Because you used two different, like for number example 4, you said 4 2 lives on it, but this one you said contains the point 3 negative 6. What does that?
Same words. Really good question, Retta. It means the same thing. Thank you, because that seems a little bit like I'm asking a different question, doesn't it? It means the same thing. Thank you for that clarification. So I'm going to go x minus, well, let's see, h and k, right? h, k. So I'm going to go x minus 7 squared plus y minus a negative 9 squared equals r squared. Okay, you all right with the double negative? Of course you are, right? Double negative, everybody sees the double negative right there? Which we may as well make that up. So I'll have a x minus 7 squared plus a y plus 9 squared equals r squared. Okay, now I need to find the value of r, right? If I plug in the point 3 negative 6, I'll be able to find the value of r squared, right? So I'm going to plug 3 in for x.
Whoa.
I'll plug in -6 for y, and I'll be able to find the value of r squared. Okay? So I'm going to have a -4 squared, which is 16. You okay with that? You okay with that? -3 squared is 16. You okay with what I just did? Plus 3 squared is 9. Okay? 9 plus 16 is 25. And so instead of square root, I just need r squared. I mean, the radius is 5, but I'm just going to put my 25 right there, and I'll have my answer. So my equation is x minus 7 squared plus y plus 9 squared equals 25. Okay, what do you think? Not too bad? Not too bad, everybody? Okay, that's all I have. I have a worksheet for you, and then it's going to be an easy day because you guys will be done early.